also have a correction to make. I told a lie. In one of the videos, I said I probably would not be taking the Keurig coffee maker with me on the trip because it wants 1,000 watts, and the pure sine wave inverter I was planning to get was not that high. When I was getting the inverter ordered, I just looked around and there was a scratch and dent 1,000 continuous inverter from the same manufacturer for just a few dollars more. So I got it. So I'm going to take it with me. I've already run the kilowatt meter on it and the cycle, and it maxed out at 870 watts, and the cycle is 3 minutes, so the actual watt hour came out as 20 watts in an hour. I averaged over an hour, so that's certainly doable. So one more electric appliance on the way, and the inverter is installed with a remote shut-off. That's another project I ran today. I've been doing lots of projects today with all the tools around. No sailing today. So things are going pretty good. Also, as I was digging through the V-berth lockers, I came across wind scoops. So I tried one of those today, and it made a huge difference. In here, there's one for both hatches. So after I installed it, the temperature here and the V-berth went down, had to be 15 degrees. It was 90 some degrees in the boat, and that was a welcome relief as the wind is blowing across the vessel, so I was getting very little circulation. Good things happen. So I've got one more for the main cabin, so with that I feel a lot better about ventilation in the hot weather of the Caribbean. A lot better. All right, the wind direction and speed instrument has been temporarily mounted where I planned. Temporary wiring is in place back in there. This is the fourth variation due to all the various color combinations and confusion. So that's in autopilot. Now press both of these at the same time. And the WP30 is accepting steer by wind commands. Yay! So much yet to do. But hey, it's fun. Okay, today the flies are out and they are bugging me by flying in my face. We're presently close hauled and we are steering by wind, which of course Sakina does not need when close haul because she tracks on a rail. But today I also found out that that's tracking on a rail close haul is really only true with the Jenny up. The winds are light, so with just the main she was kind of wallowing. We're only doing 3.3 knots with the light winds that we have, so I'll have to experiment. I presume it's going to be a lot better main only with more wind going, but that was kind of surprising. It actually tacked itself strangely main only, no guidance, so we shall see. But the steer by wind is going okay again with our temporary long-term installation there, but I have not routed it yet, so I have to be careful. But next project will be to drill a hole, oh my, and get it routed properly and safely. Okay, status report on sail by wind. Been on a beam reach for about half an hour, and at this time our magnetic course has swung from about 30 degrees to 355 or so. So sail by wind is going just great, keeping us on a beam reach. So exactly what I was hoping for. At least some good news today. Ultimately, I think I want to play around with reducing the gain on the WP30. I assume that would reduce the hunting that it does. I had reduced that after the initial install, but back then I was I would occasionally use it along the river when I was bringing in the lines, closing up the safety lines, and it wandered quite a bit in that relatively tight space, so I tightened up the gain. But for the real purpose, I think I need to loosen that up again and see how well it reduces the hunting on the unit. Steer by wind, broad reach, wing and wing, doing good. Still, I'm doing close to 3.5 knots. Although, let's see, I think when we were finally on close haul after that wind shift, we had gotten over 4.5. So, nothing to complain about. Wow, I just noticed the vanes barely turning. Oh, hey, there it goes. So, at this point I'm happy. Although there was an issue that developed when I was using steer by wind under power, just testing it. I wanted to run the engine at full power for a little bit, since I just changed the oil, and after a few minutes at full power, the WP30 gave up, at least in terms of steer by wind. It dropped out of that mode back into standard course mode and would not go back in it. But after I got the sails up, about 5-10 minutes later, she went back into steer by wind mode. So I have to look up that error message in the manual. Must have felt overwhelmed relative to something, although I think steer by wind would have been just as easy, even in power mode. Just turn the rudder and it should have followed. But maybe it just wanted, it was asking for too much too often. But yeah, we're going along, happy and satisfied. FYI, relative to the wind vane I've added, I called this as a long-term temporary location because I'm not going to get it added to the mast top until I take the mast down this winter. This winter I'm going to have a rigger flies. A rigger go over the rigging thoroughly. Talk about replacing any of the standing rigging if necessary. At that point, I will also look to add the structure for the lazy jacks, or the hardware for the lazy jacks, and anything else that happens. So at that point I will get that added at the mast top. Or was this an even better idea? I don't know. We shall see. So hazy out, hard to tell where home is, but we're heading at it. About 5 miles to go to the break wall. All right, she's complaining again. Gonna have to figure out what that error message is. We'll pause lunch to do that. Two. So helm is hard over and alarm is continuously on. The helm was not hard over, but the alarm was consistently on. So that would seem to be it. So that's a false alarm. Because it's very close to central or neutral steering. So presumably then that same issue could happen not being in sail to wind mode. We'll have to see. By the way, what are you doing with your freedom?